Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Proverbs, the 9th chapter. Wisdom hath builded her house. She hath hewn out her 7 pillars. That's the foundation. She hath killed her beasts. She hath mingled her wine. She hath also furnished her table. So this is like, as you can see in the subheading, wisdom's invitation, right? So basically, she's prepared. You know, her house is all set up. You know, she's prepared like a feast. You know, she set up the wine, furnished the table. She has sent forth her maidens. She crieth upon the highest places of the city. That is like call people to her. And this can also be likened onto the Lord sending out the prophets, right? The Yahweh gave the parable about the wedding, the banquet. He hath made ready everything. Now he says, go and bid, you know, the people to come to the marriage. But here it's in the sense of wisdom calling out, you know, as it says, whoso is simple, let him turn in thither or hither. As for him that wanteth understanding, she saith to him, come, eat of my bread, and drink of the wine which I have mingled. See, so wisdom is inviting you to come, right? Leave off. That's why in Proverbs 1 it says, how long, ye simple ones, will ye love simplicity, right? And fools delight in their scorning. So whoso is simple, who is lacking wisdom, come to the house of wisdom, right? And come and gain understanding. And who is this she, right? How is wisdom saying this to them? By the mouth of the teachers, by the mouth of the prophets. We are the ones calling out to the simple to come to the Lord, to come and gain wisdom, that you may live. Verse 6, forsake the foolish and live, and go in the way of understanding, right? Leave off from that foolish way of life, you know, that vain lifestyle, that you may live, and go in the way of understanding, okay, that you may progress, you know, living a life of understanding, abstaining from wicked ways as from filth. He that reproveth a scorner getteth to himself shame, and he that rebuketh a wicked man getteth himself a blot. Because if you reprove a scorner, what are they going to do in return? Are they going to appreciate you? No. They're gonna backbite, you know, against you. They're going to insult you. It's going to be like you're getting repaid with evil for doing good. And likewise, if you rebuke a wicked person, as it says, he getteth himself a blot. Let's look at that word blot. And it's not going to be appreciation. I tell you that. A blemish, a physical defect. Okay, that's you know, imagine you go. I'll give you a carnal example. Imagine you go to the hood trying to rebuke somebody that's smoking a blunt. You know, like, hey, you really shouldn't be doing that. You know what energy you're gonna get? Who the F are you? Who the hell are you to come here telling me what I can and cannot do? And they might lay hands on you for trying to lead them down the right path. See, reprove not a scorner, lest he hate thee. Rebuke a wise man, and he will love thee. Because when you reprove a scorner, they don't have wisdom to know that you are doing good to them. They think you're trying to get at them. You know, this person's trying to get at me. You're trying to tell me what to do. You're trying to control me. And they're gonna hate you for it. This guy's always pointing out what I've done wrong or what I'm not doing right, rather than looking at it as a means of correction from the standpoint of love. A wise man understands that. And so when you rebuke a wise man, as it says, he will love thee. Why? Because he sees hey, you're pointing out my faults that if I change and I fix will make me better. So I appreciate that. Verse 9, give instruction to a wise man, and he will be yet wiser. See? Because when you instruct a wise man, you know, on whether it's something that he can improve on, or, you know, something new, something he doesn't know, he's going to take that. He's going to learn that. If it's constructive criticism, he's going to appreciate that. He's going to use that, and he's going to gain more wisdom. He's going to get wiser. He's wiser now than yesterday, because something new has been pointed out to him now. Teach a just man, and he will increase in learning, because they will receive what it is you're teaching them. The fear of the Lord Yahweh is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding. See, so when you start to, fear the Lord, and you start to increase in the knowledge, right, of that which is holy, you start to gain more understanding. And that it's like it's a feedback loop, right? Through the more understanding you're gaining, you desire to fear the Lord even more, which then gives you more wisdom and more knowledge, and then the cycle just keeps going. For by me thy days shall be multiplied, and the years of thy life shall be increased. Okay, and how is that? By who? By wisdom. Because once again, like I explained before, people's lives are cut short because of the unwise things and deeds that they do. So what would be the inverse of that, right? If you follow after the footsteps of righteousness and you live a life in wisdom, you are going to have, as it says, your days be multiplied. You're going to live longer, and the years of thy life shall be increased. It's saying the same thing in another way. If thou be wise, thou shalt be wise for thyself. But if thou scornest, thou alone shalt bear it. Let's read that in the NLT. If you become wise, you will be the one to benefit. If you scorn wisdom, you will be the one to suffer. Right, and that's it. You do it to yourself. Right, you reap what you sow. A foolish woman is clamorous. Let's look at that word clamorous. In other words, she won't shut up. To murmur, to growl, to roar, to cry aloud, to rage, to sound, make noise. So boisterous, right? Be disquieted. Nobody wants to deal with a woman like that, right? It says what? Figurative of no, okay. So she's always talking back. She always has something to say. She always wants to have the last word. She's very loud. She doesn't know how to behave like a respectful woman. That's because she's lacking wisdom. That is a foolish woman. She is what? She is simple and knoweth nothing. For she sitteth at the door of her house on a seat in the high places of the city, to call passengers who go right on their ways. That is to basically call out to people that she can get into her grasp, right? So this is metaphorical speak, right? But she's sitting at the door of her house, right outside her house, on the street in the high places of the city, right, where passerbys, right, people are passing by, so she can call out to see who she can take for a prey. Whoso is simple, let him turn in hither. And when you turn in hither, you're going to go into her house with her. And as for him that wanteth understanding, that's one that's lacking in understanding, she saith to him, stolen waters are sweet, and bread eaten in secret is pleasant. What does this mean? Forbidden pleasure feels exciting, right? That's basically what she's trying to entice him to do, right? Forbidden pleasure, that's that stolen waters or bread eaten in secret is exciting. Why? Because it's forbidden. But what? It leads to death. All right, that's what verse 18 goes into. So she's trying to entice them to sin. But he knoweth not that the dead are there, meaning that the path that she's trying to invite you to, back into her crib, that's the path that has led to many people's demise. And that's why it says, him that is simple and wanteth understanding, she's going to say that to, and guess what? He's going to go up in there, and soon he's going to find himself in the pits of hell. It says, but he knoweth not that the dead are there, and that her guests are in the depths of hell. Her guests are those that have come into her house. Okay? Because she leads them down a dark path, a path of sin. And what does that eventually do? It brings judgment upon them, whether instantly or whether at some point in time. But one way or another, it leads those decisions and that wickedness that she entices them to do leads them to the grave, one way or another. And that brings us to the end of the book of Proverbs, the 9th chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachak Wadash. Until next time, Shalom.